Kick this thing off. How's everyone doing? Good? Awesome. Is enjoying it so far? Being back on it? Steelers back and everything? Awesome.
Are you enjoying it?
Oh, are you kidding me? It's the best time of year. Best time of year. It's all football. That's it. So.
Caleb's been having a pretty good summer. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, he's had a good, really, dating back to the spring, right, January, from the time I've got here, he's had a great stretch, which is so important. I think every specialist kind of has a unique curve, in terms of their development, especially somebody like him that's been thrust into, the role that he's in terms of being a true punter now, because he was kind of a very raw punter coming in. And so, last year I think there were some ebbs and flows, obviously, but then so this offseason was all about like, hey, let's get some conviction behind what you're doing, understand the whys behind what you're doing all the time, and that consistency is going to come. And then with that comes confidence, and that's what we really started to see from him. I know Coach, I think, elaborated to him going down to like hammer kicking 40 and doing the college competition with guys, and he actually won the competition versus some really good punters from all over the country. And I think when he came back from that, it was like, okay, I can be special at this, and I'm just proud of him because that's the work that he's put in. It's only him that's done that, and that's awesome to see as a coach.
So was it mostly mental stuff with him, or was there mechanical things?
I think it's always a mixture of both, right? Like I think there was some mental in terms of just the confidence level, and then the second piece of that obviously is the technique, and that all kind of starts to gel together. And once it starts to gel together, guys get really, really good.
Where was that camp?
I was down in Orlando. I know Ben Sauls, Adam Tanowski does a great job with those guys, across the country. And he's one of the best and a good human being too. And so he does a great job setting up camps for high school guys, and then obviously for college guys too, to come back that, and kind of pay their dues a little bit. They came up through his camps, so they had to come back and work and then also compete and get some instruction, which is awesome.
That said that he gave you credit for getting Caleb's mind right. What did that involve as far as a coach?
Sure. Well, I think I alluded to it in my first interview about he's special. Like when you watch him punt, like he has tremendous leg speed. And so from there, it's just getting him to see that in himself. And I think a big piece of that is the consistency. And so we minimize the things and the thoughts in his mind, right? We minimize it to 2 or 3 things that then he can go out there and just grind on those 1 thing, 2 things every other day, whatever it ends up being. So then now he can go out there and be confident. Because when you go out there, it's no different in golf. Like you go out there and you're thinking about 100 different things. Well, good luck actually doing the one thing you're supposed to do, and that's make it hit a pure shot, right? And it's the same thing as a punter, and I'm a big believer, and obviously on game day, I'm going to put those guys in situations to be successful, without obviously handling wind and different things like that, and our different sets that we can do, so that way they can go out there and have the most confidence known to man, and they can go do their job.
You've been looked at as a pretty effective special teams coordinator at your previous stops. Coming in here, what are you trying to implement that worked at some of those places that maybe was missing?
I think it's just the excitement around special teams, and I think it's throughout the entire program. It's not just me as a special teams coordinator, right? And with the passing of the new rule, with the GAs and QCs being able to do stuff, you've got young guys that are hungry to be coaches that are going all out during practice coaching special teams, and then our position coach do a phenomenal job. And then when in the meeting room, we created a fun environment, to say the least. And so because of that, guys, it's contagious, and guys are flying around right now, and it's been really, really pleasantly surprising where they're at right now. And again, because we have great specialists, that always feeds into it.
We see you flying around the field during practice with the high energy. Do you think this team needed that type of wake-up call with that type of coaching to infuse that energy into them?
It's hard for me to say what was happening before I got here. I know, obviously, Coach Narduzzi is as good as there is when it comes to having a plan and a vision for his program. He's been doing it for a long time at a very high level. And so, obviously, he brought us in for a reason. He knew the energy that we all carried in how we go about business. And so I think obviously, I think that was a big piece of why you look at the offensive staff and somebody like myself, why I got hired.
Another guy that's been mentioned a lot, Danny Warrock. What has he been able to do, and what do you see in him?
Danny is, man, he does it all, man. I don't think a lot of people understand, what it takes to be a special teams quality control, especially during fall camp. It is a long day and a lot of isolation. I did it for a couple years, and I'm not going to sit here and say it's fun necessarily. It's fun when you're out on that field, but then you get in there, and we get a lot of reps during special teams, and he's labeling names. So, he's in there at his computer from pretty much this time until, meetings, and he's back at it, charting stuff, and then getting meetings ready. And I mean, to have somebody like that with me that I've been with before, I mean, I can't tell you guys enough how much I appreciate it and how much better it makes my job, because I know that Danny's going to make sure all of our ducks in order, so then can focus on the personnel, and he's got a ton of energy too, and he's got a bright future in this profession.
Speaking of the enthusiasm and energy you bring to your job, where did all that come from? Where you acquire that kind of mindset?
I think a lot of it obviously is I've always been a pretty hyper person. I've always loved to compete. But you know what, like, it goes back to my parents. I got great parents at home, my mom and dad. My dad, like, he always used to tell us, like, if you're going to do something, you're going to do it the best that you can, no matter what you're doing. And so that's something that's always stuck with me. And, even in the ups and downs of life, like, and even in this profession, like, you know what, I get to step foot in an awesome facility with great people. I get to coach a game that I love and be around and influence people's lives. Like, what isn't there to be excited about that? The wins and the losses, that's all a byproduct. But what better thing to do than get to stand up in front of the entire team and have some fun and get the most out of them and hopefully see those guys reach their potential.
How about the kick and punt coverage been looking at? Who are some of the guys that have been standing out in that department?
Yeah, punts looked really well. Obviously it goes back to Junko kicking the ball in the right spots and with great hang time, and he's done a good job with that. Coverage-wise, Lynham's done an unbelievable job. I know he had done some stuff back at Nebraska. He's done a good job. Some of our linebackers have done a great job. It's the usual suspects in terms of special teams that you want to see. So I'm really excited about where we're at, and we got a lot of depth right now. That's the other fun piece. It's not just a handful of guys. Like, there's a lot of guys that you turn the tape on, you're like, man, I can't wait to see that guy flying around.
We talked to Pat and JJ about the receivers. He said, we need to go, 6, 7, 8 deep, just because of how fast we're going to move, we're going to rotate a lot of guys in. How much does that apply to tight ends, I guess? Does Gavin need to be ready to play upwards of 75% of the snaps? Are you going to rotate as much as maybe the receivers?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's hard to say going into a game, because like the ebbs and flows of games, the adjustments that you may have to make within the course of the game, it makes it kind of difficult to say this is how much snaps a guy's going to get. I think the tight end position is a unique spot in the sense of you're going to have different guys in there throughout the course of the game, just because again, with us going tempo, the receivers are built for that a little bit more than is a Gavin Bartholomew, who's 250 pounds. So naturally you're going to have to give him some blows every now and then, spell him, and so there's a little bit more role by committee in the tight end room.
Who have you looked at so far to field punts and kick returns so far?
There's a bunch of guys. I think Mumps done a great job. He's taken a lot of pride in it. Like I've told him, it's a good opportunity to just add something to your resume for the next level. Kenny Johnson, Des Reed, Che. It's really the same kind of guys that have always been back there. And, there's some young guys, too, that we're trying to develop, like a Tyreek Robinson and some other guys there that can help us out, hopefully in the future.
Talk a little bit more about Che Lubuka. I mean, we haven't really heard a lot about him throughout camp so far. What have you seen from him?
He's obviously really, really fast. He's working to be physical, and he's a guy that's been working hard in the classroom and learning the offense, and so I think he's on the right trajectory where he needs to be, for his development and what we're going to need from him as an offense or on special teams units as well.
How has Ben Stalls improved over this offseason?
His biggest thing is Ben is, and I don't know if you guys have seen him, but Ben's enjoying being out on the football field, and because Ben, I think I said it in one of my interviews, I mean, he's a fierce competitor, and sometimes that can get the best of him because he wants to be the greatest and he wants everybody around him to be elite and great, and sometimes that can be frustrating for him. And so for him, that's been my challenge. Is like, man, you've had an unbelievable career, and you've also had some downs in your career. So like, what better way to finish this thing off than just going out there and enjoying the moment every single day, enjoying the process. And you're so talented, like those results can take care of themselves. That's what it's been for him. Like he comes in, he's got a good attitude, and he never had a bad attitude, but he's just enjoying being in the facility and out on the field, and it's awesome to watch.
If you look at your hours in this building, how do you think the split breaks down between tight ends, offense, and special teams? How do you spend your time?
I mean, golly, I'd be lying if I said I don't think about special teams all the time, Because my thing is this: you're sitting there watching practice film, and that's why I think there's a ton of benefit being a special teams coordinator and a position coach. Because sometimes you get in there and you're a special teams coordinator, and you're kind of looking at things through a straw a little bit. You're not seeing the entirety of that football player. And so when you sit there in the offensive room and you're watching the offense, well, now I'm watching every single guy in the offense, how they block on the perimeter, what their movement skills look like, and then flip it around. I'm watching the defensive players and what they look like in space. And guys that are, there's some young guys that you're like, man, that guy, he's going to have it. I don't know if it's going to be early, but man, that's a guy we got to force feed. And so it's nonstop, and it's no different than in my mind being a head coach. Like Coach Narduzzi's got a lot on his plate, and he's got to kind of compartmentalize things, and that's what makes being a special teams coordinator unique as well. And but I mean, I'd say half and half because it's kind of all the time. You don't really turn it off. And I wouldn't say when it's just in this facility. My wife knows I bring it all home too, so she hears about it as well.
Is Hooper going to be your long snapper?
Yes, sir. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. He's done a great job. He's earned that job, and he's done a really good job in coverage too. I'm really proud of him, the growth that he's made in that. And again, shout out to Danny Orrock for that. Like he works with him a ton with that, and they watch film, and I couldn't be happier with where he's at there.
What about Malachi Thomas? We talked to him yesterday. What do you think of his development as a true freshman?
Malachi is a confident individual, which I'm sure you guys picked up on. Malachi is very, very athletic. He's physical, and it's everything you expect from a guy that's from a South Georgia program that went 15-0 and won a state title. He is all about football, and he's in there late at night, every night, grinding out, going through the plays and going through everything, and he's asking questions. And I give a lot of credit to guys like Gavin and Jake Overman. They freaking pour into him during practice, and they talk to him afterwards and kind of bring him along. And that's what you want to have in your room. When you got a young guy that's talented, you want that guy to be able to get developed by everybody. And that's kind of what's happening. And I'm really proud of Malachi for where he's at. Got a long way to go, but he's going to keep doing that.